Hi guys, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today is the fifth film in the Paranormal Activity series of reviews that I'm doing over this Halloween period. And today we're going to be looking at Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension, specifically the 3D version. This is the only Paranormal Activity film that they made in 3D. And I've never watched this in the 3D format before. I have seen the film before, but yeah, I want to experience it in the 3D format for this sort of set of reviews that I'm doing. And if you've not checked out any of the other reviews, you can have a look at my playlist in the horror section or paranormal activity section. You'll find the other reviews in there. Each day I'm doing a review from the second film through to the seventh film, Next of King, I think that one's called. The first Paranormal Activity film, I did a review for that last year when the second sight edition came out. So again, if you look in my playlist, you'll find that in there. And there's a sort of review on the film, and there's also an unboxing on there of that edition. So yeah, you can go and check that one out as well. Anyway, I'll give you my thoughts on the film, a bit of trivia, some facts about the film in the review today of Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension. Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension came out in 2015, and in the UK it was a 15 certificate. It's part of the horror / found footage genre, and it ran for 1 hour and 28 minutes. When the Fleeges find some eerie old tapes and a camera in their new house, they realise that they have walked straight into a landmine of supernatural activity. The release date in the US was the 23rd of October 2015, and this was directed by Gregory Plotkin. The budget was $10 million US, and the box office took $78.9 million US. So this did make a profit, but nowhere near as big as previous outings. The initial DVD release of the film was on the 12th of January 2016 in America, and this was distributed by Paramount Pictures. Cast included Chris J. Murray as Ryan, Britt Shaw as Emily, Ivy George as Leah, Dan Gill as Mike, Olivia Taylor-Dudley as Skylar, Chloe Casinri as the young Katie, Jessica Tyler Brown as the young Christy, Don McCannis as Kent, Michael Crawick as Father Todd. Now on to some trivia about the film. Including this movie, the franchise has a cumulative $18 million budget. The first 5 films of the franchise have altogether grossed a total of $811 million. The only movie in the Paranormal Activity franchise not to feature Katie Featherston as an adult. She's only referenced in this one, and you see her as a child. The film was shot in 45 days. The first and only Paranormal Activity film to be released in the 3D format. There were problems with the release date of this movie. It was originally going to have a 2013 release, but then was postponed to October the 24th, 2014, a year later. Then it was pushed to March the 13th, 2015, next to an unknown date in 2016, and finally postponed until the 23rd of October 2015. At a budget of $10 million, this is the most expensive Paranormal Activity film to date. The end credits play in complete silence and feature no sound or score. And finally, first film in the series to show events happening without the use of a video camera. The opening scene is filmed normally and is not shown through the lens of a camera. Okay, so in front of us we've got the edition on Blu-ray, and as you can see, the main feature here is the 3D logo. So if we turn it over, you can see that disc 1 has the Blu-ray 3D version. It's only in theatrical edition in 3D, but there are some deleted scenes in 3D as well. So yeah, I didn't actually watch those deleted scenes, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see them. And then on disc 2, we've got the theatrical version and the extended version. And there's an alternate ending on here as well, which again I've not actually looked into. But yeah, and you've got a 1:7 to 8:1 aspect ratio with the 3D disc, and English 5.1 surround sound DTS master audio mix. Various other languages on there if you want to pause and read. And on disc 2, the standard Blu-ray, again you're getting the same aspect ratio and the same 5.1 surround sound DTS master audio mix. You've got a theatrical edition running at 88 minutes approximately, and that's the version I watched in 3D. And there's an extended version of 97 minutes as well, with the alternate ending. So yeah, it's got some very sort of variations on this edition. Obviously, to watch the 3D, you need the compatible glasses and the equipment. I watched this using my projector and surround sound system. So yeah, you open up the discs. So again, with Paramount, you get the just, you know, no artwork on the disc. So that's the feature film, theatrical and extended cut on Blu-ray. And then you're also getting the 3D version there, just the theatrical cut. And there's some special features, so deleted scenes in 3D. Okay, so on to my thoughts and review of the film. Yeah, I mean, I went into this one with quite low expectations. Obviously, up until this point, I've watched the first, second, third and fourth films. I felt the last one certainly dipped in quality. It certainly felt like it was kind of moving away from the paranormal activity and more into the reasons as to why all this was happening. And this film pretty much picks up from the events of Paranormal Activity 3, the ending of that film, which sort of focused on the two children, Katie and Christy, and back in the 1990s. And you pretty much sort of see footage from there where there's sort of like a cult leader, and he's kind of talking to the girls, telling them about what's going to happen, in their lives and all this kind of thing. So yeah, they're obviously sort of continuity from this one is running pretty much from the third film onto this one. Obviously the fourth film kind of took a bit of a sideline, but still kind of links in with this film nonetheless. Now this was the only Paranormal Activity film that I've actually watched on a big projector with the full surround sound system. All of the other films I've actually watched just on the television, just with ordinary TV sound, no sound bar. And I have to say I was pleasantly surprised with this experience. Obviously I was watching it in the 3D format and when I started watching it, and as I said in the trivia, it's the only film to actually sort of start with it not actually showing you video footage. And to be honest, I kind of took the 3D glasses off to start with and thought, I can't see any difference here. But we're kind of introduced to this new family, husband and wife and a daughter, probably age of 6 or 7, I suppose. And there's also he's either a friend of the family or brother. I can't remember what he is, but he comes to the house and is pretty much staying with them as well. And there's also another friend of the family, a lady. She sort of kind of comes into the film as well at certain points, when obviously activity starts to happen. But where the 3D really comes into the mix is they basically find this video camera, an old style VHS video camera, and they find the various tapes of recordings showing the children, Katie and Christy as sort of young children, and all the events that are happening with this kind of cult, I suppose, of men and women they sort of see all this footage of what they're being almost sort of taught to, what will happen in the future. And they start using this video camera actually around the house. And this is where the 3D comes into play. The actual video camera is kind of, and they even explain it in the film, that it's a special kind of like camera. And you pretty much can see, like, I suppose you can see the activity. You actually see, it's almost like, best way to describe it is kind of like sort of snow, black snow in the air, and depending on what angle you look at it, it's kind of floating in a 3D space. So it's quite clever, and when this camera is actually used, you really feel like you're kind of in the house with them. So it was quite immersive quality about it. And the time frame for this film it's set in sort of 2013, in the months of November and December, towards the very end of November, and then as we go into December, and it's quite prominent that they put up a big Christmas tree in the lounge area, and it pretty much leads up to the sort of close to Christmas, the Christmas time. I think it ends on about the sort of 18th of December or something like that. And yeah, it pretty much established that this, Toby, as in the other films, has kind of attached himself to the little girl, and she starts to see and acts, sort of oddly, and starting to talk. As with the other films, the children involved start to talk to sort of something you can't see. But with this special camera, camcorder that they're using, they have it set up in the house, and you can see sort of, obviously it's time stamped like the other films, various night 1, night 3, etc., and various times in sort of at night time, but actually some stuff during the day as well. And this particular camera kind of picks up this entity or paranormal ghost or whatever it is on screen, and you're kind of seeing it moving around the house, and it within a 3D sort of space. So it's quite clever actually. I was actually more invested in this film actually than the previous film, Paranormal Activity 4. I think because of this 3D element is really kind of giving it an extra layer of sort of, just that sort of extra sort of immersion, shall we say. And the other thing that really sort of surprised me about this was again the sound. Obviously put it through the amplifier, and the 5.1 DTS master audio didn't disappoint. I certainly felt a lot of bass in this film. Certainly when this entity is moving around the house and it's sort of flying out the camera, and you can hear the bass really rumble, furniture being thrown around and all this kind of thing. It really added something to my experience, and made me jump a lot more than my experiences of watching the other films just on the television. So yeah, from that point of view, I feel like I've missed out a little bit on maybe watching the other films actually on the projector and putting it through the amplifier. Now obviously this is this is a Blu-ray version of the film. I own the first Paranormal Activity film on Blu-ray, but all of the other films, except for the marked ones and Next of Kin, I own on DVD. Marked ones and Next of Kin were through a streaming site. So yeah, again, I didn't get the full experience with those. That was just watching it on the television. So yeah, whilst I think this film is probably didn't do as well as some of the other films, I actually quite enjoyed this one. Certainly more so than the fourth film. I think because of that sort of, you know, different experience, it felt more jumpy to me, and yeah, I just felt like it was a better experience. I thought it was quite clever how it linked in with the third film. Obviously, it's a different family, but we find out that the house that they're living on is actually, or living in, sorry, is actually built on the site of the original house that Katie and Christy lived in, and you sort of find this out that obviously there's things left in the garden, a rosary bead necklace, and sort of some writing that's left in concrete by the two girls. So there's a real strong connection with the third film, and as you can see on the front cover there, you've got like a portal or a gateway that actually opens up in the little girl's room. And again, this is very good in 3D, certainly with that window effect. You get that sense of depth, and this is kind of like a gateway to the past. So towards the end of the film, obviously they go back into the sort of the original house that obviously this house is built on now, or the site that it's built on, and yeah, obviously the sort of film ends there. Again, the ending to it felt kind of similar to the previous two outings, Activity 4 and Activity 3. Not so much paranormal, but a little bit more sort of kind of tying it up and sort of realising, so this has happened and that's happened. So yeah, I'd be actually interested to see what the alternate cut is like. But again, I think obviously with this film they've sort of kind of tied it up. I don't know whether they would continue the story. I obviously with the next two films, I won't go into what happens on those because obviously you can watch those two reviews coming up. But this kind of feels like it's to a point where it could either be closed off, that story closed off, or they could continue it at some point in the future. So that was just sort of my review, my thoughts on this film, giving you some trivia and some facts about it. Yeah, I didn't mind this one. Actually, I preferred this film to Paranormal Activity 4. I don't know whether it was because of the sort of the 3D element to it, and the sort of watching it with the surround sound. It kind of just felt, yeah, more sort of scary to me. I was certainly jumping at points, and I mean, even the 3D on it, you get a few pop out bits. It's mainly sort of the depth. Obviously the camera is sort of spanning, you know, the static camera looking at various parts of the house, and you're actually seeing the activity now rather than it just being poltergeist sort of activity that you wouldn't necessarily see. You might see objects moving around, or and you do get a little bit of that, but yeah, it's virtually sort of actually seeing this, I don't know, probably a little bit like black snow, or like sort of oil liquid kind of thing, sort of dripping from the ceiling, all this kind of thing. But yeah, it certainly did make me jump in sort of various places. So I felt thoroughly entertained after watching the film. So guys, that was just Paranormal Activity 5, the Ghost Dimension review. If you've enjoyed that, and please come back tomorrow and see the marked ones, which is a bit of a spin-off to this series. So yeah, come back and watch that one. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Take care and happy Halloween.